Hi, thanks for being with me today. I hope you're keeping well. Do you ever feel stuck in life? Do you ever feel like life is in a bit of a rut? You might feel like you're in a rut at work, having done the same job for years. You might feel in a bit of a rut in a relationship that's gone a bit stale. You might feel in a rut with your relationship with God even, that, spiritually you sort of plateaued and you're going nowhere in that relationship with God. And the thing is, when we do get into a bit of a rut, when our life does plateau like that, we tend to just learn to live with it. We say, well, it's too late to make any real change, or you might say, I'm too old to change, or you might say, well, it's just the way I am, it's just the way it is. And then we tend to sort of normalize living a lesser life. We settle for something less and we normalize it. Very often in life, we want change, we desire change, but we don't do anything about it. How often have you desired to become more healthy, more fit, or to sort out your finances, or maybe to go and explore the possibility of another job, but not actually done anything about it? Desire and movement are not the same thing. Sometimes we can get trapped in a cycle of just kind of living the same old life that we always have done. And the hope that we have for a new future, a better future for ourselves, kind of gets lost in a whole load of excuses. Today, I just want to explore with you a passage from John's Gospel, chapter 5, verses 1 to 9, that I think speaks a bit into this. And it's the story of the man at the pool in Bethesda. You might remember the story that he'd been there for 38 years, almost 4 decades he'd been there. And if you remember the story, when the waters stirred up, people would go into the pool and they would receive healing. But the man had been lying there for nearly 4 decades and had never yet received his healing. Interestingly, Jesus meets with him beside the pool. And in chapter 5, John chapter 5, verse 6, Jesus doesn't say to him, what happened to you to make you disabled? He doesn't say to him, how bad is your disability, or ask him any questions like that. Jesus asks him a very penetrating question. He says this: do you want to get well? Do you want to get well? 4 decades living near change, and he'd never done anything about it. 4 decades of living right next to the pool of healing, and he had never yet gone into it. It's almost like Jesus recognizes this man was emotionally stuck. He'd learned to live beside the pool of healing. He'd learned to live beside his breakthrough, if you like, instead of proactively seeking to do anything about it. And I think Jesus asks us a very tough question when it comes to embracing change and making the right decisions in life to kind of change and move forward. Jesus says to us, do you want a transformed life, or are you just going to settle for less? Are you in a Bethesda moment, as it were? Are you sitting beside a pool that metaphorically can transform you and bring change and bring you new life? Are you ready to embrace it? Are you ready to be transformed by God? There's 3 things I just want to raise with you today from that story, John chapter 5, verses 1 to 9. And the first is this: that proximity to change can be deceptive. Now, what do I mean by that? We can be near change without actually changing. You and I may want to, kind of improve our lives, improve our health, improve our jobs, improve our relationships, improve our spirituality, everything about us. We can read all the books, we can watch all the videos, we can listen to the podcasts, we can live near a gym and still be unhealthy. We can have a house full of books and still be ignorant. We can attend church, we can can watch sermons online, we can subscribe to spiritual websites and so on and so forth, and still be passive and still not achieve the change that we want or that we need. Proximity to change is not transformation. In verse 3 of John chapter 5, we read that many were near the pool, but not everybody got healed. Most people were there just waiting for something to happen. And this man built his life on the edge of change. He built life on the edge of the pool. And Jesus quite rightly says to him, do you want to get well? Do you want to change? In verse 6, Jesus says to him, do you want to get well? And in verse 7, the man replies, sir, I have no one to help me into the pool. Now, isn't that an interesting response? Jesus asks about his desire, but the man replies about his circumstances and his reason why it hasn't happened. And you know, the truth is that some of us have been around Jesus for many years, but we've not actually done anything with him. We've not really allowed him to change us. And Jesus says, you know, do you really want to be healed? Do you really want me to transform you? You know, you need to ask yourself that honest question. You know, you talk about change, you talk about transformation in your life. Do you really, really want it? Being close to change is not the same thing as actually changing itself. Secondly, from this passage, we learn that excuses can become our identity. Now, you and I have a life story. We have things that have happened to us. We have things that didn't happen to us. We've got people from our past who've let us down. And these stories from our past shape our sense of self. And over time, the stories from our past actually become our identity. So in the end, we say, well, look, you know, we stop saying, this is what happened to me, and we start saying, this is how I am. So, for example, over time, we might say things like, I'm a failure in relationships, or we might say, oh, I'm not the type of person who can hold down a job, or we might say, I've got an addictive personality. We allow the things that have happened to us in our life story to shape our identity. And we end up doing the same thing, I think, in faith as well. We can end up saying, you know, oh, God uses other people, not me, or I'm too old to be used by God, or I'm too young to be used by God, or I'm not gifted or talented enough to be used by God. And we can make excuses that actually end up shaping our identity, shaping how we see ourselves. But excuses don't just delay God's transforming work. They become a kind of source of identity that then actively works against God's transforming work in our life. St. Augustine classically once said, Lord, make me pure, but just not yet. You know, he wanted to hold on to his identity rather than allow God to transform him in that moment. And it's worth asking yourself, you know, is there a part of your life where your excuses feel safer than actually taking the risk of stepping out and obeying God and moving into a new phase of your life? Jesus wants to sort of interrupt your current identity. He wants to rewrite your story. He wants you really to drop your excuses, to lose your victim mentality and step into the new life that he is offering you. And thirdly, and finally from this passage, I think we learn that God's offer of transformation requires a response. Transformation, growth, change in life doesn't come about just through analysing it. It doesn't come about through just thinking about it. It doesn't come about through just sort of exploring the issues or processing the problem or even kind of creating a theology around us. Transformation in life comes when we actually do something about it and make the change. We can't think our way into change and transformation. We need to actively walk into it. And in verses 8 to 9 in this passage, we read this: "Then Jesus said to the man, 'Get up, pick up your mat and walk.' At once the man was cured. He picked up his mat and walked." Now, Jesus didn't pick the man up. Jesus didn't carry the man forward. He gave him a word and he waited for the man to respond. And the man got up, picked up his mat and had to move. And I think that God's grace empowers obedience. Jesus met this man with grace and demanded obedience from him. And so it is with us, that God meets us with grace. He gives us the offer of a new life. He gives us the offer of a fresh start in life. But then he wants us to obey, to get up and get on with it and do it. We need to act. We need to be proactive. We need to be prepared to respond to God's offer to us. And transformation of life and change, I think, flows through obedience. When we obey, we are changed. When we obey, our lives are transformed. You don't have to feel strong to get up and move and walk. You don't have to wait until you have it all together in life to get up and walk and to move. Just do it. Just do it, even before you've got your life together, even before you've got all the answers. Just get up and obey God and move. So I would say then from this passage that proximity to change, being close to change, can sometimes create an illusion. And being close to change sometimes make us feel like we are being healed. We can go to church, we can listen to the sermons, we can listen to the podcast, we can watch the YouTube videos. And when we do all that, we might think that we are being changed, transformed, moving forward with God. But actually, are you getting up? Are you moving? Or are you just listening to input about getting up and moving? Do you see what I mean? Proximity without movement is an illusion. And the stories that we tell ourselves from the past can keep us stuck. And your identity is not your stuckness. Jesus is inviting you into a new reality where grace, his grace, and your obedience dance together, where Jesus is inviting you to act, to meet you with his grace, and for you to get up and do something about it. So what if today God is offering you the change that you most desire, and all you need to do is get up, pick up your mat and walk? What is it that you most want to change in life? Where in your life do you most want to be transformed? What if Jesus is offering you the opportunity to achieve that today? Maybe Jesus is saying to you, do you want to get well? Do you really want to change? Do you want to be transformed? If you do, then you need to choose movement over comfort. You need to choose faith over fear. You need to choose obedience over excuses. Leave behind you the place where you have been stuck all these years. Embrace the change that God has for you and walk in your new life. You are just one step away from transformation. You are just one step away from change. You are just one step away from life in all its fullness. Don't just listen to the podcast, listen to the sermons, watch the YouTube videos, subscribe to the magazines or whatever it is. Don't just feel close to the change. Don't just sit by the edge of the healing pool. Pick up your mat and walk, and God's grace will meet you in your obedience. I hope that's been helpful. It's a fascinating passage, isn't it? Let me know your thoughts on it in the comments below. I hope it's been helpful. Thank you so much for giving me your time today. I always appreciate it. And I look forward to being with you again really soon. Take care. Bye-bye.